Earlier this year, I had a really fun opportunity to write a Pokemon battle theme for a game jam, and as I'm wanting to branch out here on YouTube, I thought that experience might be an interesting thing to talk about, so let's get into it. Hi, my name is Matthew Paul, and in this video I'm going to talk about my experience writing a Pokemon battle theme, as well as diving into the composition, theory, and production of the battle theme that I wrote. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. It helps me guide my channel and have a better idea of what kinds of videos you'd like to see from me. But enough of that, let's get into some Pokemon music. First, let's get into a little bit of backstory, just bear with me. Earlier in the summer of 2023, I decided it was finally time to try my hand at composing for other creators' projects after years of working solely on my own electronic music. So I started my compositional career by jumping into writing music for game jams, which, if you're unaware, is a game development challenge where a developer, or team of developers, is tasked with creating a small video game based on a prompt. Oh, and you also have to start from scratch, and you only have a short time to complete and release your game. I had worked on another game jam with a developer who goes by Irish Ronin, and one afternoon he hits me up with a message saying, "Hey, I'm in another game jam, do you want to write something for it?" To which I pretty much immediately accepted. He was pretty far along and just needed a couple of songs before the deadline, which was a couple of days away. The prompt for the jam was "You Are the Monster," hopefully prompting developers into letting us play as the villain of the story, wreaking havoc on the world around us. But Irish Ronin took that in a slightly different direction. In this game you play as a monster. A pocket monster, if you will. In the game you play as a monster named Leafletta, who is definitely not a Pokemon, who has evaded capture up to this point and become kind of a mythical, sought-after monster. One day, Leafletta decides that it's just had enough and decides to turn its powers against the trainers who have come to capture it. And so the game has the player using Leafletta's abilities to turn the oncoming trainers and their monsters into piles of gore and viscera. I understood the assignment immediately. I have to write a Pokemon battle theme, of course, but there's one problem here. I've only played a few hours worth of Pokemon games? I know. I've watched a few episodes of the original anime. I've seen the first movie. I've played an hour or so of Pokemon X when it came out, and I've dabbled in Legends Arceus and the Diamond and Pearl remakes since then. But all that to say, my Pokemon experience is limited, and the only music from it that I've really heard is the stuff that ends up in Super Smash Bros. So I took to YouTube, listening to Pokemon battle themes from across the series' history, with more focus placed on Game Boy Advance titles like Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. And with all that music absorbed into my brain, I opened up Logic Pro and set to work. For this project, I knew I wanted to get as close as possible to the sound of the Game Boy Advance. I used Logic Pro's sampler instrument to load up a sound font called LilSNES, which aims to recreate Super Nintendo-era samples and sounds without the legal gray area of using the sound fonts from the actual games. And while that's not exactly the Game Boy Advance sound font, it was close enough for me with my time constraints. I was able to sell the Game Boy Advance effect a little more with a plugin that I've been loving lately called Codec by Leafletta. Codec is an audio compressor, squashing your audio down into smaller bit rates to get that nice, almost watery MP3 sound, which is perfect for that early to mid-2000s aesthetic. It's really awesome for creating interesting textures as well. It's free, and there's a link in the description if you want to try it out. Editor Matt chiming in to say that Leafletta is not sponsoring me. I just really like this plugin, and I get a lot of use out of it. On this track, I used Codec to emulate the quality of the Game Boy Advance sound card, resampling the track to a bitrate of 33,000 and a bandwidth of 8 kHz. I also followed that with Logic Pro's stock channel EQ, which I used to roll off some of the high end at 5,000 Hz. To my understanding and research, this matches the specifications of what the Game Boy Advance sound card was capable of, but more importantly to me personally, this is just what sounded best to my ears when trying to match the sound profile of different soundtracks from that era. Now it was time to create a palette of instruments to use on the track. Of course, in keeping with Pokemon tradition, I used a lot of strings and horns and simple wavetable synths like square waves and saw waves, but given the gory and violent nature of Leafletta, I also pulled some influence from more violent games like Doom and Ultrakill. This meant including drop-tuned electric guitars, aggressive drums, and a GBA-style approximation of drum breaks influenced by breakcore. Getting into writing the song, it needs to start off with this super chaotic run of notes leading into the main battle theme. This has been a staple of Pokemon battle themes since Gen 1, and while I don't know exactly how to quantify it, I accomplished it here with 4 instruments. a square wave playing an ascending run of 8th notes, a violin playing a descending run of 16th notes, a bass guitar playing a descending run of 8th notes, and my little personal flair that I added, a rock drum set playing a fill that sounds like this. And one more time with the other instruments over top. This goes directly into the A section of the song. For Pokemon battle themes, a common trend is to use a very simple but dark sounding chord progression, going from the 1 to the flat 2, then back again. Now, not all Pokemon battle themes use this progression, but a lot of the ones that I listen to do. And when I think Pokemon battle music, this is the chord progression that comes to mind. For this track, I used C minor to D flat minor, and then back to C minor, held down by an electric guitar and a small horn section. Now to bring some energy before the song fully kicks in, we've got our rock drum set playing a 4-on-the-floor kick pattern, layered in with a marching snare and a timpani line that was inspired by the Groudon battle theme from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. This builds us directly into the main section where the drum set kicks up into a 2-step beat. Not only is this beat kind of an automatic circle pit starter at rock, metal, and punk shows, but it's also a mainstay of drum break-based electronic genres like drum and bass, jungle, and breakcore. Given that these genres all had some kind of influence not just on this song, but on myself and most of my music, it felt right to use this beat here. And speaking of bass, Pokemon battle themes can also have some wild bass lines. The one I wrote here isn't anything too crazy, but I did try to make it feasibly playable on a real electric bass, and this is what I came up with. Okay, never mind, I don't actually know if that is playable or not. Just forget that. Anyway, this is doubled by a solo violin, and the horn stabs from earlier get picked up by another set of strings. I also added a square wave synth arpeggio to round out the high end and add a little bit of ear candy. And over top all of that is our main lead, which is a short run of notes in the Phrygian mode played by a solo trumpet. The Phrygian scale is all over Pokemon battle music, and if you're not aware of what the Phrygian scale is, it's basically just a minor scale with a flat second note. It provides a darker and more intense sound that's perfect for battle music, and if you want a longer video on it, go check out 8-Bit Music Theory's video on the Phrygian mode. It's really excellent and digestible even for me, someone who hardly knows any theory at all. It really helped me out in understanding exactly what I was up against here. Add some more strings and horns to break up the melody with a little call and response action, and we end up with this. At this point, I felt like I had a solid A section, but I didn't want for the song to become annoying or too repetitive, which is an easy problem to run into when writing specifically older styled game music. Thankfully, we can mitigate some of that by writing a B section in order to give our A section some room to breathe. For this B section, I brought the energy level back down a little bit with a steady kick drum layered with the marching snare and timpani combo from the intro of the song. But this time I wrote a riff on my real-world electric guitar and transcribed it into MIDI and gave it to the string section to play. Bring in the call and response strings from the A section for a little compositional glue, and it sounds like this. Now that we've broken down the A section and the B section, let's have a listen to the full track from start to finish with all of the mixing and production that I threw on there. entire Pokemon battle theme that I wrote in an afternoon for a game jam. It was really important to keep the song short and sweet. I was writing this for a game jam after all, and file size is limited, so we don't want to have a song that's too long or involved, especially if we don't know the file size of the rest of the game's assets. So from here, I bounced it out to audio and sent it over to Irish Ronin for him to implement into the game. I'm super proud of what I came up with, and I knew I really cinched it when I was listening back to the song and my wife asked me which game I was playing from the other room. I guess my track had fooled them pretty thoroughly. On that note, I feel like I should listen to more Pokemon music to broaden my horizons a little bit. If you have a favorite track from a Pokemon game, whether it's battle music or something else, I want to know what it is in the comments. I promise I will listen to every single one. Thank you so much for tuning into my very first full track breakdown on my channel. If you want to download the song in full, as well as the song that I wrote for the opening cutscene of Leafletta, there's a link to my Bandcamp page in the description where you can stream and download them both for free. If you want to play Leafletta for yourself, there is a link to the game's itch.io page in the description as well. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more from me, consider liking and subscribing to stay tuned with what I'm up to. I usually do music arrangements and covers of some of my favorite tracks from video games, but I would love to branch out into posting more track breakdowns and game jam devlogs. As a matter of fact, by the time this goes up, I'll be knee-deep in a game jam hosted by Big Mode, which is Video Game Donkey's publishing company. It runs just short of 3 weeks from November 27th to December 15th, and I'll definitely be making a video or two about my experience there, so be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see what I cook up for the dunk. My name is Matthew Paul, and I'll see you in the next video.